Welcome to this week's Trading Bits and Bytes. I'm Susan Littlefield. Joining us today is PJ Conradt with Tredas. We're going to highlight this roller coaster grain market we saw this week, the above normal precipitation, and the cooler temps we've been dealing with, along with less growing degree days. Just a few of the things to highlight so far. So thanks, PJ, for taking some time to join us today.
Thank you, Susan. I can't wait to have some bits and bytes here.
Let's talk a little bit about these row crops. We saw such a volatile week, and on Thursday saw some nice higher numbers, but it definitely has been a roller coaster.
It has. You really go back to Sunday night, checking the overnights, we were up pretty hard and thought maybe we were going to try to make a run at 5 this week, only to reverse into Tuesday, Wednesday before catching some rebound on Thursday. Natural market moves in a sense of when we made our run to 450, we stepped back, went back to 430 for a while. We break above 450, 454, we run to 470 this week, we come back to 454 and bounce off that. So, we're stair-stepping our way into this. The first, call it 360 to 420, that was the easy money. And now here comes the tougher grind higher of what's actually out there. I think from a demand standpoint, export-wise, we've definitely the last 3 weeks cut export demand pretty hard. Now I don't have the exact numbers, but well off USDA expectations. That's going to weigh heavy on this market moving forward. That being said, we flip over to the eastern side of the Corn Belt, basis running either side at 80 cents over an average type number for this time of year. Bin doors are slammed hard shut, especially in areas that are prevent planted and very wet, which is a large side of the east and pockets in central Nebraska as well. So it's going to make for a volatile next 2-3 months, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities that come with that as well.
Well, let's talk about those bins being shut. They're sitting on the old crop, and maybe they were the smart ones when we were talking a few months ago about selling old crop. They held on to it, so maybe they're going to see some profitability, but at the same time, they're not bringing in income because of prevent plant.
Exactly. So I think a lot of the guys, I'm not saying it's everyone, but a lot of the people you're seeing with the bin doors really welded shut right now are the guys who couldn't get things planted. And so I don't blame them for having that shut. What I will say is you do want to take advantage of opportunities, and if you want to replace that with some calls or along the board, I think that's all perfectly fine. I can plant write a bullish picture and I can write a bearish picture, but I think every farmer is bullish right now for the most part, and rightfully so for what we've had for a spring. That being said, it looks like the next 10 days are going to get warmer. Now, does that mean we're going to be drier? Maybe not, but some heat and sunshine would make this crop go a long ways and make you at least feel better, if nothing else, from driving by on the road.
I say you could definitely see it. A lot of yellow corn out there.
10 days ago, I was telling somebody else this. 10 days ago, I drove from York to Grand Island, and a lot of yellow pockets and not looking good corn. Did the same thing this week, about a day ago, and very plush green again, and feels more like it usually is for June, but it still feels like we're a month behind. When Wednesday this week we were a high of 64 and overcast all day. It feels like May, not June. 4th of July appears to be warm right now, and I hope so, but we're going to need some heat. It's going to be a true year of knee high by the 4th of July. Usually it's knee high by the 4th of June the last 2 or 3 years anyway. So.
Well, we do have the cooler temperatures. We've got the above normal precipitation. We've seen videos in Illinois of tractors that are fender and above in water. So we know there's a lot that hasn't been planted to the east. True prevent plant numbers, you're saying not till August, September?
I mean, I don't know when you're really going to know for sure, but I think August, September, you're going to get a lot clearer picture. What we do know is USDA has shown an ability here early in this year to drop yield and drop acreage. And so that usually lends itself to probably more drops in yield and acreage moving forward. Conditions could lean a little more positive moving forward the next couple weeks. A lot of those are done by eye shot from the road. And I'd say my eye shot from the road in central Nebraska is a heck of a lot better than it was 10 days ago. So if that were to ring true, and you're going to have more emerged corn across the Corn Belt that planted late, yes, you're going to take a yield hit, but it's still going to look green in the field. And so that's the everlasting question is goes back to how good are these hybrids? And I know they're by and large tailored for drought, but are these hybrids that good to withstand a wet year and still produce very good corn? I guess I'll tell you October 1st, but right now there's going to be a lot of unknowns, and like we had talked before, the amount of unknowns we have in 2019 versus any other year in recent memory is huge. And so that's going to create some big swings. So just because we were down 15 cents this week, we're still in the same spot we were, say, last Friday. And so that's probably the biggest takeaway is don't get caught up in these day-to-day moves. Just as bad as it was a month ago when we were at 365 and as good as it feels today at 470-ish, don't get caught up in where we're at and focus on your risk too, that you can When you start getting 470, you can be making sales, buying calls, and locking in, say, a worst case scenario of 450 futures. And I think a month ago, a lot of people had given their left eye for it.
A lot of cattle aren't moving as we switch gears quickly, not moving into the feedlots. We've got lush grass, which is good for those cattle that want to finish them out before they go to the feedlots. But are we saving the feedlots a little bit of money right now as they prepare for less feed come fall?
Yeah, I think they have to plan and kind of figure out how much they can have on feed moving forward and what their profitability is with higher costs, whether it's their own calves or if they're custom feeding. The custom feeding guy has to figure out where all this breaks at. And, that's a tough scenario to sit here and run because you can run corn to $5, $6, and you can run corn to $4. Now you look, we talked weather and you talk about some of those type of things. We have been in spots of Iowa, the western half of Iowa, about an inch or so below normal rains. So we're still getting rains and it's still very saturated. But if heat were to come in, how fast can this corn crop catch up? Similar to last May, but we're a month later. It's going to be a fun summer, though.
Very much so. Thanks so much. PJ Conrad joining us today. It is Trading Bits and Bytes. I'm Susan Littlefield.